Let's see. So I should wait. Let's start now. The screen share. Sure. All right. All right, guys. Welcome to the Entrepreneurship Hub. All right. What is the Entrepreneurship Hub? Find out more about ehubtt.org. But once upon a time, the U.S. Embassy said, "Wait, boy, too much people in Trinidad turn to violent crime and ISIS. So what we could do to support that, if it has something, if we can turn the youth to entrepreneurship, right, it'll be better. Or people who went to ISIS, we can turn them towards entrepreneurship is a better path. How can we encourage entrepreneurship in Trinidad? In Trinidad does not have an entrepreneurship hub. So the RC alumni, people who worked with them in the past, who's interested in entrepreneurship, a couple of us raise our hands. Right, this here's me, Deidre, and David Roberts. Hey, this guy get too big for us now, right? But nah, he's been helpful and cause the support. Right, hey, if you remember, it had Keyshawn Walker, right? Remember he's getting a check for $250,000. It's that guy giving out a check. He's the permanent secretary of community and sport development. So he's also asked him and say, hey, how can you support the entrepreneurship? Right. So that's a little history. All right. Okay, so what we are in a sense, because we have to find out how can we really best help entrepreneurs. And we said the best way to do so is to, because I have many persons helping, like Netco, right? Is to be a chamber for micro entrepreneurs. But if you have around the block for any kind of time, if you go to a chamber, it's not necessarily shaped for entrepreneurs. One is that not all regions or corporations or locations have chambers, right? So, for example, I had the pleasure of meeting the one in Faizabad, but there's about 15 people. And then I was starting to get off the ground. A larger chamber, like let's say Cuba, many entrepreneurs, but they're really middle and large, right? So they'll have a fee to join. That fee can look like $600. And the topics and content is not necessarily the same challenges that micro entrepreneurs face. So if we are a chamber for micro entrepreneurs and our content could be shaped directly for micro entrepreneurs, as well as we could say, what we get to is that if it's not for us, then we could have a voice saying, this is our challenge. This is what we need. Our vision is to promote collaboration, consensus building, and shared knowledge about best business practices. But some people that do well, guys, right? Some people have made it, some people have succeeded in this ecosystem. And perhaps we could get to learn a thing or two from them, as well as we and the businesses that support us ought to practice the best business practices. And we need to get that done, because if we don't do it, who will, right? Right, so you want to make the ease of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago easy, right? And there are a number of persons that kind of impact that, but this is what we want to do in a sense. We want to have over 1,000 members, which we do. Yeah, we are 1,200, so very proud of that. I'm supported by the embassy, local, regional, foreign chambers of commerce, which we have lots and all of their support. So everything bold is what we have successfully so far. Regional corporations, Dr. Sima, right? Collaborate with the banks of Trinidad and Tobago. So recently we actually had a good chat with the Republic Bank. They came and hosted a session early this month, no, late last month, about a month ago in Port of Spain. And they came in and said how they wanted to help us. And when I say us, you guys, right? In terms of giving loans, making sure accessing accounts is easy. But I would say they're referring really to, I think that they're referring to personal accounts. Personal accounts are easy, but we want business accounts to be easy, right? So there's some more work to be done, right? So we do some more work there. But in a sense, you want to open a bank account and accessing finance easy as possible. You want Trinidad and Tobago to be an example of the best practice, the easiest way to open up a business account for entrepreneurs. And if we as a collective could come together and say, hey, we find that it is too hard. Right, so for example, if Shem said, hey, opening a bank account is too hard, nobody cares. Nobody cares, right? Right? Even if Simon said it, the two or three of us, but if all of us came to say it and say, hey, thousands of us came and said it is too difficult for this particular reason, then the bank say, oh, okay, I care. Right? So that's the one strength we have, strength in numbers that we have to take advantage of. Right, more goals of the Entrepreneurship Hub. Speaking about this all the time, so yeah, this. Sorry about that, guys. Some resources we've met. Yeah, lots of people want to help us. Like AmCham, they say like a foreign chamber. Yes, 20 projects. Small business workshop series. All right. This has been going really good. We've learned a lot. This was one of the diaspora women who originally was from Trinidad, went away, and she's like a professor in entrepreneurship. And she came back down for a scholarship program, and she helps us, Dr. Joanne Platt. Export TT, one of the entities that we came about in this journey, and say, oh, finally, we want to help entrepreneurs. We have all these sessions about teaching how to export. Oh, Jayme, you had to talk to the rest, yes, so that's probably too much, that's joking. But still, Export TT, Republic Bank. Right? So what we need is your voice in council along with ours. This picture is you have some of these stakeholders, some of these stakeholders, Netco, YBTT, AmCham, the David Roberts guy that we're keeping a close tabs on. Right? So just sports and community development, corporations, Doximo, Six Income, Export TT. Yes, but all of them knew your problems, the challenges, so they care. But perhaps we need to help guide them, properly shape programs to suit us. Cool. And now the meet of today. Fundraising concepts with Jayme Hoyte. So how did I know Jayme Hoyte? You see this wildlife program here? Young Leaders of American Initiatives. She went with me on that program. Excellent program, changed my life. I got me into photography. And it was essentially, it took a lot of promising entrepreneurs, taught them about entrepreneurship for 6 weeks while we in America. And we just learned a lot seeing some good examples from away. So really, really eye-opening, right? And I've got to see her progress from since on, because that was about 5-6 years ago. You know, a lot of good work with the MC. But
Yeah.
Egypt. So work with smart term. I'm particularly interested in. There's look what happened, guys. I got a chance to go to Caribbean Development Bank, annual governors forum. And so all these people here. And they took us to an Entrepreneurship Hub in Canada. Very eye-opening to see what they do. And they had an example of a Caribbean entrepreneur to show how that progressed through the hub and getting great results.
This was so amazing, and you know, it's like meeting you of all people, I wasn't there at this event, but for you to meet, you know, our CEO at this event, it was like small world.
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. I go all the way to Canada. They go have an example of success. And who they bring out? Smart term. I know Jayme for 6 years. Right? Why do go Canada to find out all the great things that Jayme do and all his knowledge? Right? I was deeply hurt, but impressed, but deeply hurt. Right?
No, it's because Smartim is doing very well in the Caribbean and out there, but you know, at home here, it's not being taken up so much.
And I like that he said that. So you're gonna come to that as well.
Yeah, we'll come back to all of that.
But guys, you see, imagine how I felt. Like, I can get all the information. I didn't know how to hear Adeli, this guy here. And Jayme to tell me all of this. Right? So we called Jayme here to talk to the entrepreneurs about fundraising concepts, because she does that on her own as well. Right? Much I'm not gonna ask. If she could tell you, if you ask, she choose to tell you how much money she has attained in grants thus far. But you're gonna learn today, guys, in a structured fashion, follow the videos as we always do.
Right.
But now you know, with Jayme and them out there. But today we are here. Find out everything Jayme, all the secrets Jayme pull off. Right?
Yeah, I think fundraising feel is a very tricky type of feel. It's time consuming. Some might be fearful of it, but I hope after this session that persons can have a little more understanding of what types of grant is available for me, or just funding in general available to my particular business need, and just where can I find those particular grants and opportunities.
What you saying? So guys, let's begin. My all the resources, same wildlife program. They came out and had an online courses session. Say that you have the access to the course. All these courses, guys, and we have gone through a new small business workshop series. And one of these is fundraising concepts, right?
Yeah.
So fundraising concepts. Let's begin. Just I'll make sure I hit share sound. When you're done, we'll ask Jayme if they're making sense, if anything to add or not, right? And you could ask questions.
Hello, my name is Peter McFerrin, and I'm an instructor at the Presidential Precinct Institute of the Mandela Washington Fellowship. I have over 30 years of experience working in international development and fundraising. I'm happy to have you join me for this course on fundraising concepts. In this course, we will take a more in-depth look at the principles of fundraising. This course includes 5 lessons and will focus on creating a strategic fundraising plan, the components of a fundraising plan, marketing and communication strategies for fundraising, fundraisings for nonprofit organization, and fundraising for profit-making organizations. So let's talk about the importance of a strategic fundraising plan and go over some of the basic overviews and actions. A fundraising plan must go hand in hand with the organization's mission, vision, goals, and objectives. Its fundamental success relies on you and your team cultivating relationships on the personal, professional, and institutional level. It is through the building of relationships based on trust and shared common interest with prospective donors or investors that a fundraising campaign can be successful. It is crucial to recognize that the requirements of public and private funders differ. Public bodies and charitable organizations are usually interested in how a project will enhance the lives of others. Corporate sponsors are obligated to earn a return on an investment and enhance their reputation and brand. Individual donors want to make an impact, leaving a legacy or taking advantage of tax benefits a donation may bring. So who do you want to find? Seek investors or partners that are smart, strategic, and without reproach. You need a clean and transparent record and no conflicts of interest with your board, management team, investors, and strategic partners. Your organization's financial and legal matters must be in order. Donors and investors fund stable organizations that can legally receive funds, spend them wisely, be successful, and have an impact. I have found that having a good track record will help attract additional support. Your management team plays a key role in successful fundraising. Your management structure needs to include clear reporting and auditing, as investors may ask to review records. Your marketing and communications team needs to develop a plan that plainly and concisely explains your mission, vision, and product. Spreading the exciting news about your company not only attracts clients, but more importantly, investors. Everyone in your organization must help build your fundraising network. Your staff, colleagues, and board members should also be building relationships that will help you secure funding or partnerships. You never know when you may meet someone who can help or may want to invest. Expanding relationships and cultivating donors can involve sending out proposals and fundraising appeals, identifying grants or funding organizations, telephone solicitations, and crowdsourcing. What strategy you pursue will depend on the nature of your organization and the opportunities that exist. Take a look at fundraising strategies and techniques that other organizations are using. You may find good ideas on what to do and what not to do. As you move forward, do your homework. Investigate the interests of a potential donor or investor. Find out what causes or programs attract them. For example, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Global Fund support public health initiatives, but not environmental programs. So if your business idea impacts climate change, they aren't the right partner for you. If you're working to end malaria, there's common ground, and you may want to reach out to them. The same applies to what funding or partnership options are available for your organization. A good source of information is the chambers of commerce that have offices in your country. Talk to local organizations that might want to invest in local causes. Research international aid, bilateral and multilateral organizations. Learn how to use search engines and resource materials that can be accessed often for free through the internet. Many organizations publicly share projects that they fund on their websites or list them in tax filings. Timeliness is an important factor for any business. Your fundraising strategy and plan needs to be sensitive to the timelines and priorities of potential donors or investors. Making contact with a potential funder and then waiting months to follow up will destroy the credibility of a fundraising effort. Be aware that you may only have a brief window of opportunity to present your idea or project to a donor or investor. Be ready to let them know the specific value proposition that awaits them when they come on board. Next, let's look at the components of a fundraising plan. Fundraising plan.
All right.
All right.
So if you have questions, post it in the chat. And of course, first question. Jayme, talking sense or you not talking sense?
Definitely, he's talking sense. I think having developing a fundraising plan is basically setting up the structure of your business. So if it is you having a business, you have to register the business. You have to ensure you have your team being set up as well. He mentioned about having a track record, so that means in terms of doing business with other businesses, or in terms of just servicing your clients, having that good reputation with your clients is very important, and just building network. I think in business, networking is one of the most important thing you can do for your business. It's like marketing your business, but it takes a more personal type of relationship you have to start building with persons. You should be ready at any point in time to pitch your business to somebody. That's it, why they call it they say it's the elevator pitch. You must have that 1 minute pitch. Always be willing, always be ready to tell somebody about the good work that you're doing, about the business that you just started, about the new person you just hired, or even about the client you just serviced, or even the collaboration and the partnership that you just did with somebody. So I think all of that is super, super important. Also pay very close attention to your legal stuff, because most funders or grantors will need you to be registered. Some would say maybe 2 years in advance. Your company have to be registered. You have to have your certificate. Other organizations might ask for tax compliant, so you have to be tax compliant with the legal office. You have to file your taxes yearly. So if you're a business and you are operating for a longer period, you have to religiously every year file your taxes. Some may ask for your business BIR. So these are some things that you should think about upfront when setting up your business.
All right. Anybody, if you have a question, raise your hand. I'll recognize it and ask. So, brass tacks, Jayme. So you are a for registered or not for profit or not for profit company? Smart.
Smart Term is a for-profit company, and we have had access to grants. We have had access to accelerator programs like DMZ and different funding opportunities. So in Canada, in Jamaica, we are registered. Give me 1 minute.
Now, this is actually first for-profit company that I
Yes.
heard got access to grants. I want to hear which grant and why you all were able to get this grant.
Right. So we Right. So we would have had access to the DBJ grant in Jamaica. I don't know if you all are familiar with that. DBJ is the Development Bank of Jamaica, right? And we would have done Tech Beach. Yes, raise your hand. Yeah, and just raise.
How you get a grant in Jamaica? Jayme, you from Trinidad?
Yes, I'm from Trinidad. We are registered as a non-profit in Trinidad. So we're working things out as a non-profit in Trinidad. In Canada, we're registered as a for-profit. St. Lucia, we're registered as a for-profit. Jamaica, we are registered as a for-profit. But I do think even though there are regional organizations or regional entities that do offer, even if it's registered or operate in a different country, like Jamaica, for example, they do offer grants regionally. But I think the DBJ grant was specifically for Jamaican businesses. And I think because we participated in, I think it's the Tech Beach, one of the accelerator programs, we went through the process and we got put on to the DBJ and we went through its long, tiring process. You had to have all your information, your tax compliant business registration, your audits, your business accounts needed to be audited, your team needed to be intact, your marketing, everything. They look at everything. And before actually accessing that particular grant, you have to go through these different steps. I think they also had training as well. So we would have had to go through that and submit a whole lot of documents in order to have access.
Okay, so just saying it again to make it clear, because I representing the people here.
Yeah,
Recently we had a questionnaire
yeah,
about like just books in order. And that
yes.
is a challenge for us, right? In terms of and getting the stock registered. So it's saying that it's unlikely to be access a grant
Mhm.
if your paperwork not in order.
Not in
correct?
order. Have to be in order. Have to be in order. Um, there are like individual grants. Like for example, we would have accessed individual grants, personal grants from the U.S. Embassy. Notice of funding for grants, and this would have been like project grants, right? And let me kind of clear that up because businesses can access grants. I would say for two particular reason. One being that they're looking for grants, they're looking for opportunities to increase their inventory or their capital or their stocks and or maybe to buy machinery and equipment. So that is like a business development grant. And then there's another line where you can access grants if it is you are executing on a project, right, as a business. So the very first one would be like a business development grant, so your day-to-day operations will be improved. But this one in particular would be like if it is you want to execute on a project. So it's not really feeding back into your day-to-day operations, but it will get you the networking, the marketing, the exposure of your business. So let me give an example. Let's say you're a bakery The first line would be like, if it is you want machinery or you need inventory to keep the business going, to keep it afloat. The second line would be, let's say you're a bakery, but you want to assist maybe 25 women how to make pastries. So you'll create a nice program, maybe over 6 weeks, and the funding will be specifically for that execution of the program. It's not, like I said, it's not directly in line with your day-to-day operations, but it will help you with bringing in that extra funding, bringing in networking, and also marketing your business as well.
Yeah, I could attest to that because I too would have accessed the photography workshop grant through the embassy using that way. But it wasn't to improve my company, it was more to
Yeah, a program.
the embassy wants to connect with young individuals.
Yeah.
True, and they might even, if you work with them before, like in the case with me, they actually contacted and say, hey, Shemeon, you do photography, can you do a photography course? And there's a grant, right?
Yeah.
And then it's okay, you apply, and the grant is for connecting with these individuals between ages of 15 to 19 and teach them about entrepreneurship through photography. So as you're very correct, it's very specific right now. Not a life changing ceremony, right? But
Yeah.
what is that?
And like I said, it comes with, that collaboration, you collaborating with the US Embassy, bringing that network, that exposure for your brand and for your business. Depending on what type of project you are trying to execute, those type of grants or opportunities will basically cover itself. It's not like you taken away from your revenue from your day to day. You might have some injections, but ultimately those particular grants cover itself.
Okay, very
So
good. Any question? Sorry.
yeah, no. So I was going to say you may have to hire persons based on that grant, administrators, whatever. You may have to hire based on the funding available in that particular funding opportunity.
Sure. Akila, say Akila, and what about local grants? Have you been access any local grants?
Local grants, there's NEDCO. NEDCO is currently giving grants, I think $20,000 for entrepreneurs. There's a form on their website that you'd have to fill out. Again, you have to be registered. You have to have a BIR number, whether it's your business or a personal BIR number. I had signed up for that, to be honest. I had signed up for that, and I was about to get it, but there was something when it comes to my registration, because both my partner and I were registered, and she had an issue with her birth paper. So all of these type of things, can prevent you from actually getting and securing grants. But in terms of local grants, there are tons of local grants that the government is offering. You can look on their website. I think there's grants for different things as well too. Not only for businesses, but also like, social and economic welfare and all these different type of things you can access on their website. But there are, if you look, there's also the seed grant that the ministry has as well. Seed. And that one particularly is for equipment. So you'd have to get the invoices from the suppliers. You'd have to fill out the form, attach the copy of the invoices, and just wait for them to give you that call.
So in terms of NEDCO, last time in Paul Spain, I mentioned the word NEDCO, and I heard an audible groan from the audience. As like, boy, anything with this, I call in Simon in the chat, so Simon could see if that grants or anything, right?
Yeah.
I want to know too, because what you have been doing on the Ehub site, we have this resources tab, and we have been collating, like, okay,
Opportunities.
yeah, so grant funding, other sorts of finance, business support. So like grant funding, these are the things that we are aware of, right? And we are in the process of learning how these entities actually give out money and to whom they give out money. So for example,
I have gotten from the US Embassy, Trinidad and Tobago. I have gotten from grants.gov. That's a US site. You can sign up on that, and there's tons and tons and tons of grants that you can just look through and see, look at the criterias and see how you particularly fit into those criterias. I don't know if the majority of the person on the call here today is small business, but with the
Yes.
grants.gov, there are certain criterias. For example, being NGO, you may have to be registered on the SAMS account as well too. But the U.S. Embassy in Trinidad and Tobago, yes, that is open. I think I don't know if the call is open yet, Shem. The financial year has started already, so I believe it should go up on their website soon. And
Okay.
they usually have teams that you can apply for grants. So like things like climate change, things like vulnerable communities, women, LGBT, um, government securities, as well as innovation technology. You can fit into, see where you fit into and develop a proposal for.
So lovely side, good ask. So I did click, so just gonna describe how I got here. On the resources, grant fund opportunities, the first one, I clicked it and I was able to, so yes, you're right. This is what the notice of an opportunity looks like. And you see the annual program statement 2025, deadline to apply July 31st, 2025. You click there, you're gonna see a document. And this is what it looks like. So max, the amount of money they have in Trinidad to dish out is like around 140,000 US. The maximum for each
20,000.
20,000, right? But you have to come in here and say, okay, these are
Wait.
their program areas. This is what they care about. They care about security. So support programs that address root causes of gang membership and violent extremism, governance, and you go through these things, and you have to find where you are inside of here.
Yeah, where you fit. It when reading it like that, you may not find that you actually fit into some of these categories, but that's where it comes to developing a winning proposal. So let's say, for example, they talk about gang, even you know, that like even if your business is totally unrelated, you can create a project or create a program that kind of merges what they are looking for and what you kind of do.
Agreed. And then the next thing to watch for is the type of organization, of course, what not eligible from
Yes, that is important. So things like church groups, I think, are not eligible, commercial products, scientific research. So yeah, you could go through the list. But I think for this particular grant, I believe most of the persons on the call may not have a SAMS registration. That is fine. If you don't have a SAMS registration for your business to access this grant, you can get it as an individual person executing a grant. And for that, you'd have to show that, well, you are a reputable person, you have executed project, you are running this type of business, you are in business for a certain amount of year, and just show your credibility in your ability to get the job done.
I noticed, but for this one here, for-profit or commercial entities are not eligible to apply.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes we are, for what I've seen, most participants are registered in terms of locally, but they're registered as a for-profit entity.
Yeah.
Knocking them out from a grant proposal, or this particular grant proposal.
Yeah.
Right? And they might have to wait for another one that is for individual, or look for another entity like Shell, Livewire program, or these other programs that pursue entrepreneurs. All right, guys, we're going good. I hope you're going good. Making sense. I see you all still here, so I'm assuming so. All right. I want to go look at the next video.
Yeah.
Right. But again, just to recap, one of the challenges for grants for us is that our paperwork must be in order.
Yeah.
You gotta have a fundraising plan, and networking is
Networking.
critical, right? In a sense, the underlying word is building trust. If they don't trust you, they won't give you money. And they trust people who they're familiar with, they trust people who have the paperwork in order.
Yeah.
Right? So cool. Very right. Next one, guys.
Hi, I am Peter McFerrin, and welcome back to Fundraising Concepts. We've spoken broadly about the need for a strategy with your fundraising plan. Now let's look at the components of that plan. As you embark on the process of funding an existing or new organization or project, you most likely are starting with a great idea and are an entrepreneur at heart. This involves being creative and persistent, building a solid team, taking risks, and having a solid plan. Going through a SWOT analysis to identify your business's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats can be very useful. Let's discuss the key components of your fundraising plan. First, include an executive summary detailing the mission, vision, goals, and objectives of your organization. How are these items reflected in your fundraising strategy and efforts? If they're not, it's time to make some revisions to your fundraising strategy so that it reflects your organization. Second, include your organization's legal, management, and financial structure. It should be professional, efficient, and transparent. Third, clearly lay out your strategic objectives on a timeline. These can be used as points of reference from which measurements may be made to assess how you're doing at any given time. For example, how many people will your product or service serve, and by when? How will you measure results? You cannot ask for money if you're not clear about your goals and objectives. Investors want to see what their money has accomplished. Pointing out how you're achieving your objectives is a good sign to an investor. The timeline and budget for your organization and fundraising plan is the fourth component of your plan. What funds are needed? What will they be used for? What is the return on investments that will result from your organization or project? Identify your capital and operating expenses, fixed and variable costs, assets and liabilities. This information will be crucial to convince donors or investors that your project or organization is viable, sustainable, and a great proposition. Have a clear understanding of potential cash flow and how you will cover expenses. You can run a business without profit, but you can't run a business without cash flow. You need cash flow to be sustainable. The fifth component of your plan is marketing. You'll want to include a description or bullet points of how you will market your company. Depending on the size and nature of your organization, consider doing a market study. So the key components are the executive summary, the organization's business structure, the list of goals and objectives, the organization's timeline and budget, and an overview of the marketing strategy. These may sound like a lot of components, but each one will build a stronger foundation for your fundraising and the success of your organization. As you secure funding, make sure you keep your investors and donors informed on the financial and operational aspects of your work. They should receive regular reports and be invited to events you organize. Of course, you want to be sure you comply with the requirements donors or investors have. Even if you need to work with professionals, like an accountant, to provide the donors with what they require upon investing, donor stewardship is very important in the resource mobilization process. You need to keep their trust. Before moving on to the next lesson, I have a task for you. Prepare a 1 to 3 page summary to describe the idea, project, or organization you need funding for. Be concise, clear, and convincing. Research funders that support ideas like yours, particularly those interested in your location or sector. The window of opportunity only opens for a brief moment. You must be prepared. In the next lesson, we'll look at getting the word out to potential investors and donors with marketing and communications strategies.
Awesome.
All right. All right. Jayme, you talking sense? Nonsense.
Let me put my camera on. Yeah, definitely. So basically, what he is explaining here is basically you have to have a proposal. You have to have a proposal. Apart from your business documents and all these other things that describe your business, you have to have a project proposal, or if it's a proposal that is directly for your business, a business proposal. And sometimes these kind of go hand in hand with like maybe your deck, your pitch deck, your business deck. And what this outlines is it basically tells the investor these are the problems that we're facing, the challenges we're facing. These are the solutions that I am putting forward. These are the products or the services that will help us to execute. This is the market that we're catering to, whether it's women between the ages of in this area or in this country. And you have to show them as well how it is you're going to make back the money. This is for like more business opportunities, right? If it's just like a grant opportunity for NGO, you may not have to show how you are going to make back money because they don't really, it's not really how to say, you don't really have to make back the funds when it comes to an NGO. You know, it's just like an impact project you're working on, and you have to show them projections as to, okay, with this investment of $10,000 in the next 5 years, where the company will be, right? And then you have to show them as well what you're going to spend the $10,000 on. If it's research and development, if it's marketing, branding, if it's sales, hiring a new salesperson, just upgrading the team to basically execute on what you say you're going to execute. And then you show them, who are the experts that will, drive this vision to where you want it to be in the next 5 years or so. So it's a snapshot outline, maybe a document, a PowerPoint document, 10-page that shows all of these things, 10 to 15 pages that shows all of these things to let the investor know that you are a credible organization. Your teammates are the best in the world that will execute on this particular project to take their investment to the next level, to bring it more on a non-profit type of scale. It's still a proposal, but it's a proposal that really just share, like, the title page, the cover letter, the background of the organization, the goals and objectives of the project that you're trying to achieve. And key to any proposal as well too, more, I would say more so for nonprofit, is the needs assessment. Looking at the needs assessment and really showing the impact. A lot of funders or grantors want to know that when they invest in your project or in your business, they want to know that it's for an impactful purpose, an impactful cause. Who would it impact? Is it impacting children, women, animals, climate, men? So you have to be very specific as to, let's say you want to impact 50 men in the area of Arima, between the ages of 16 to 19, vulnerable ages, and you show that your project will bring about some type of change. Another point to note on impact is being aligned with sustainable developmental goals. So the United Nations created, I think, is 17 goals, that that will improve, and working with organization to improve, you know, world objectives, things like hunger, poverty, education, you know, smart cities, climate change, all these different type of things. So you can look at those sustainable development goals and try to align with one of those goals. So for example, with smart term, we align with goal 4, which is quality education. So in any proposal we're doing, we would definitely include the importance of quality education. We'd include, you know, some of the work of the UN on quality education and how it is we, with our project, will impact, you know, the work of the UN, and, you know, impact the persons that we're trying to reach. So always show that alignment, to show that social, what's the word, Shemeon? I think it's social
Impact and
im-
relevance.
social impact and relevance. That's it. So you can definitely align with some of those goals. Yeah.
All right, very good. So what pulling on what you have said so far, which is one, you have to be properly registered, have your books in order, and accounting and finances. You have to have a good team, the best in the world, right? And then you have to show how your work is in alignment with larger goals. For example, the SDGs are the best example that you can now create a program or a project in alignment with these goals and go ask for money. Right? If it
Right.
is a NGO, you could show that you're making impact, and you can show how it is giving me this sort of money, you make an impact in alignment with these goals. Right? And if you are for profit, you could also be in impact with these goals, but also show how you're going to make that money back over a period of time.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I saw a question here from Samara. Do you provide a service that someone can bring their ideas and you help them hit all the points for their investor? Samara, is that for Entrepreneurship Hub? Is that for Jayme herself?
I'm not sure. It's just like if anybody does provide this service, you know, to
Well,
businesses or individuals.
I think a lot of organizations do, even Netco, they have some programs. There's also different accelerator programs that if this you're now starting your business, you can go into those programs and they help you take your business from A to Z. Wila is a program like that as well. But I think you're referring specifically to the funding opportunities, research and funding, writing proposals, that type of thing. Well, you're in luck today because I dub myself the business booster, where I help entrepreneurs as well to, you know, to walk this journey of accessing funds and also helping them on their entrepreneurial journey. So you can find me on Instagram at underscore the business booster underscore. And I basically assist persons in, you know, writing their proposals, getting grants, researching the different types of grants, and helping them to submit. Shemeon mentioned earlier how much funds I have raised so far. So far for my companies, and for my clients, I've raised over 400,000 US dollars for my companies and my clients as well.
Thank you,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
Right, a scene here. Oh yes, and this NGO thing, the writing grants is quite a thing. It's quite an interesting and large task. Right, I got another. Oh, and Kariri also has a business ideation
Mhm.
course that you could access.
Yeah.
Now, Indira asks if is there a group that can be created for NGOs due to the fact that it's very hard to get grants when you're new. For example, there's a mommy of two. We are trying to assist with building a wooden structure, but we as a new NGO can't get an emergency grant. I would say, and this is what the NGO people do say, there's a concept where when we are coming out, especially NGOs, that everyone is like to have their own NGO, right? And their own entity. When in fact, as an NGO, there are many, many entities that already exist that may need help, right? That may be doing something similar to yours. For
Yeah.
example, is there not a cause? Is a NGO that I know of that may be very willing to build a wooden structure for a mummy of two, right? So, but it's kind of to recognize and know that you're not in this, it's not good to be in this journey alone, right? And I was starting for profit. So, for example, writing a project proposal, as Jayme said, they want to know that you have the very best people in your team, right? So, a time in while I mean, they said, imagine just 250 entrepreneurs, and all of us have the same question: where to get money, right? Everybody have the same question. So they eventually had an investment tool to access where you are in the business and invited all the wilders. And we came, but they had these two persons who did get venture capitalist funding. And they described the process. And part of the process was the investor came to the place of work and just stayed a week just to watch the team dynamics, and see how they work together. At that point in time, it's me and my wife. There's a team, right? Some of us are just one alone, right?
One in until they could build out. But yeah, NGO work, even running a business, it's not a walk in the park. As Shemeon said, it's like if it is you have an idea, for an NGO, reach out and look to see who has that same idea and see if it is you can work with this person or collaborate, and try to volunteer or put your energies there, because to do it by yourself, it's a lot of work.
Collaboration is the way in the right? Elizabeth said, oh, bonjour, with SDGs in mind. Okay. A lot of funding for our projects. Yeah. Habitat for Humanity. Hey, Alicia, exactly. Habitat for Humanity is an excellent NGO as well that might be already able to help you in Europe.
And
Cool.
another thing, with writing your proposals that I think is important is budgeting, being able to, budget correctly, plan out a program, plan out the timelines, and set, specific figure amounts for things that will be happening in the program, and, resources that you will need. So you'd have to also develop your budget and sustainability. You'd have to show, your funders that this project could be sustainable outside of maybe the 3 months they're funding it for, or the 6 months they're funding it for. So you have to be able to show that maybe, okay, after the 6 months, you're gonna look at other local grants or collaborations or partnerships with corporate entities to, see how you can keep the program alive. So
Yes, and I see Tony making sure we on point. I like it. Is there a network support group? I think there is a network of NGOs, right? And
yeah, that's why the IDB.
yeah, and I think there's actually they have a center next to it's not Queen's Park, but the stadium in Port of Spain. I will look for it, right? And I would share it in the WhatsApp group. What is it? And we make sure if there is, we would include it in the resources, right? Business support. Let me see if I shall be it. Okay, so it looks like we need to have a part here for NGO support, right? Thank you for that, for those comments, guys, and where we could do better. Network of NGOs for the advancement of women. Oh. Somebody, Catherine said the one I'm referring to is the network of NGOs for the advancement of women.
Okay.
Right? So that, I mean, and if it is that if it is good for us to define like gaps in support, and because maybe there's no network of NGOs, then there's not enough collaboration. Alright, what's for more thoughts, school for thought? Let's progress to the next stuff. Keep the questions coming, guys. It helps us all. Alright. Oh, who are the persons eligible to join the WhatsApp group? Just join the club, just sign up on the page. If Vash, I'll make sure I get you right stuff. In email, you'll see the link. Right now, but all of us. Remember, all we want to say is that we have millions of persons who are part of the Entrepreneurship Hub, right? That thousands, right? Such that persons care to help us. Right? Persons care to create these kind of NGO groups or NGO support systems. Yes.
Yeah, and if you all want a session on writing proposals or accessing grants, we can organize something like that as well.
Okay. See, people want to help, guys.
That really kind of dives into how to the specifics.
Right. So next one is marketing and communication plan.
Welcome back. I'm Peter McFerrin, and this is Fundraising Concepts. In the previous lessons, we've gone over fundraising strategy and the components of a fundraising plan. Now we're ready to spread the word about your fantastic investment opportunity. The summary you created will help as we turn our attention to marketing. Marketing and communications tools are essential to your efforts to create greater awareness for potential investors. In any fundraising campaign, you cannot assume that the possible funder will have more than just general information about your organization or work. A possible supporter must be educated about the projects you are working on, your financial requirements, how their money will fit into your budget, how it will be spent, and the goals you have set. Your fundraising and marketing teams should work together to analyze what needs to be done in the area of marketing and communications in order to reach current and potential donors. Marketing includes creating your branding and corporate identity, a clear and concise website, an active and relevant social media presence, and well-designed, informative marketing materials. It is important that you know who you are as an organization, what you're doing, and where you're going. So take a look at the summary again. Based on what you've written, how will you explain your organization in 3 to 4 sentences? This can be the core of your marketing message and launching pad for the marketing plan. Your marketing and communication plan will help you sell your company and excite the listener. Anyone you speak with is a potential investor. And remember, everyone in the organization should be building your fundraising network and should also have an understanding of the marketing plan for investors. Your entire team or board should be able to articulate the same message as laid out by your marketing and communications plan. This consistent messaging will increase the reach of your organization and the possibility of getting more investors. In the next lesson, we'll take a closer look at fundraising opportunities specific to nonprofits.
Yep. Everything here on point. Your social, you have to develop your social platforms, no doubt about it. Even when you go to an interview and you give your interviewer your resume, before you come to that interview, they're gonna look at your social media. They're gonna look and see if you was whining in some party in a 2-piece, So what you put out there is, what it is your investors and potential collaborators and potential persons are going to see. It is very important to have your social media active with the things that you are currently doing within your business. Give us some behind the shot scenes, of you putting together a box of, your products that you're going to sell, or give us when you're walking to get some supplies or something, you show us the different types of supplies, show us the different collaborations you will get. If you hire somebody new, congratulate them and recognize them on your social platform. It is that much important. They are going to get your proposal. They're going to read the first page of your proposal to see if any interest, and then they will do their digging. They will do their homework, their due diligence. They will go to your website. So you have to make sure your website active with all the past projects and things that you're doing. Sometimes we might build a website and they're just there 2 years, 6 months inactive and nothing is going on. And you click on a button and you have 404 error coming up. So you want to have an active website that really portrays what it is you are trying to offer. Your social media, Instagram and your Facebook are very important tools. We should not just see it as a place just to post content, but take some time and structure your content. Okay, today we're going to put some motivational Mondays, tip Tuesdays, customer relations or customer review Wednesday, that type of thing. So you want to kind of have some type of structure around your social media plan and just share information, share. I know it's kind of tedious sometimes, and to remain consistent with your social media, it's difficult. I know about it, but it's really a tool that helps get your message across. You're talking to somebody real quick, you're sharing your elevator pitch. You could say, well, add me on my Instagram. Here's my Instagram. But if your Instagram ain't updated since 2020 COVID, oh God, the business shut down, and and it ain't really updated, it's not gonna really entice and draw the persons into your programs, into your social media and stuff like that. So you really want to keep that active, keep it up to date, use the stories, use sound in your videos. And a lot of persons now, they like to see more videos as opposed to static posts. So, incorporate some videos, some to-do tips, and incorporate a lot more videos, and even just you speaking to your clientele, you speaking to your audience. You can do like an introductory video. Hi, my name is so and so, this is my company, we're doing this and we're impacting and changing lives. You do that. You could just do different types of content, but the main aim is to keep the value of what it is you are offering, what it is you are trying to put out there, and the quality of the content as well. So yes, your website is important, social media, all platforms, as much as you can, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube are all important tools that will help you to reach your client, to reach somebody, to show the investors or the funders that, okay, this person did this project last year. I see they did this project 2 years ago with US Embassy, and everything is just, it's like you're building your social resume.
Thank you for that, Jayme. Excellent. Any questions, anyone?
And I could send you a page. I'm a co-founder at Women Owned Media and Education Network. It's a platform for women and girls, where we deal with different issues. We look at the issues of women and girls from a multi strategy, and we have multi-strategy approach to dealing with those issues, because there's so many issues with women and girls, and we just didn't focus on one. We come up with solutions to aid any type of issues that women and girls are having. So I'll send you our Instagram and show you how it is we are up to date. We currently have a program running now, and you get day by day, ball by ball, information and stuff that is going on within the program on our social media. So you'll see how it's developed, how it's created, how the colors, our brand colors, are popping out as well. You'll see all of that happening. So I'll share it in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a
Question, Tony.
question from Carrie
Tony,
Ann.
oh, you have another,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
My hand
Carrie.
is opening.
Yeah, can I get example of donors approach? Just remember you have this link here, right?
Right?
So there's on the ELTT website that we have grant donors, and you can go and check them out and learn about them, right?
Mhm.
Tony, we pretend. Go ask Jayme your hard question.
Morning. So I think maybe for me, I didn't see the work I was doing before as a project per se, right? You know, sometimes you're just doing the work.
Right.
So in moving forward to do, let's say, your first bigger project, would you recommend using more grassroots type fundraising efforts, like have a barbecue, have like a raffle thing? Um, because it seems like, of course, for these grants, they would look at your previous history of projects, and unfortunately, I may not have been publicizing it, or God forbid, the record keeper is not as it should be.
Right.
What do you recommend to start that or to start afresh? If we should utilize, like as I said, the grassroots type
Can
approaches.
you, okay, can you tell me your business and what do you do in your business?
So I have an NGO called the Sister Bestie Network. So we assist mothers and families. We originally started geared towards pregnant women. But of course, because times are changing and things are harder, we help mothers and families who need assistance. So we would have started out very small, like with baby clothing, food especially, but we want to move forward to more sustainable types of assistance, so life skills programs and these types of things. So we're just trying to figure out how to organize funding for that, shifting from, you know, small quote unquote projects like food assistance, etc., to more long-term help where they can move away from asking for assistance to the life skills programs and so on.
Okay, are you registered?
Yes.
Right, you're registered. Are you up to date on taxes and stuff like that?
Annual returns and so yes.
Okay, well that's good. I think you can utilize some of the more grassroots. For me, I particularly like I've done barbecues and stuff like that, and I know the amount of work that goes into those type of grassroots stuff. And
Yeah.
sometimes even at the end of a barbecue, you may not even make the amount of money that you spend.
Yeah.
So I tend to stay away from those type of fundraising opportunities. It may work for persons, if they're able to market and get the tickets sold and that type of thing. It may work, but I stay away from those type. I would say for you, look at the U.S. Embassy, what they are offering, and you can definitely fit into some of what they're offering there. Okay, at this point, make it your duty to start uploading and start compiling your social media, or even your pitch deck or your deck, and arranging stuff so that you can have something that you can show to the donors, that type of way. But I won't say limit yourself to just those grassroots. I would say start now to get into some of those bigger funding sources.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I'll make a comment as well. Yeah, so I would say, Tony, like, where do you want to be, like, in the end goal? So, what I've seen, I remember as a youth, right? I got a chance to go in Atlantic's LNG's corporate office. And on Atlantic LNG's corporate office, there's a plaque to Habitat for Humanity, right? And I spoke to the corporate sustainability person at the time, Karen Tony Surgery, right? And I was asking her about, about the NGOs and all these things. And she said, well, the challenge really is not the necessarily money for the NGOs. The challenge is finding committed and effective NGOs, right? So which is an interesting statement, right? So now I want to look at it from, because there's a sphere, a spectrum of donors, and there's also the corporations, and the corporations need to have these ESG projects, right? Meaning environmental sustainability goals. They need to show that they are giving back to society. But the corporations themselves can't do it. So they need to find somebody. So I've been beneficiary of programs that are run by NGOs or and even be for profit. But it is these type of good projects, social impact projects, that the corporations would pay entities to execute. So there's that realm of funding as well. Also keep in mind, and beyond, so Jayme discussed the funding from grants, right? So for example, the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, that is grant funded, and that may have been in the vicinity of 20 to 40,000 US per tranche, right? So that is, I'm not sure how much money making from barbecues, but it looks that it's, if you want to move to that amount, you got to kind of do what we're saying here in terms of approach these donors to execute programs that they in effect want to see done in a way that they want to see done, right? And you have to represent an entity that they can legitimately support, right? Further from that is the entrepreneurial minded NGOs, right? Which is an NGO that wants to make its own money, right? And in my job as a photographer, I've gone undercover, right, at the energy chamber, right? And recently at the AGM, we see their revenues, right? How they make their money. And and it's interesting. So from there, like their membership is 11%, right, of their revenue. Then, but the biggest one that there also courses, and that might be like 20%, like courses for STO, STO compliance. So it's like how people to be compliant, right, in their area. But their biggest revenue earner, right, as a chamber, is events with over 61%, right? They host business events, right? Annual Energy Chamber Conference, and that is bringing them millions of dollars as a NGO. They are no longer pursuing entities. They're not hosting barbecues. They're no longer pursuing entities as for funding. They're not necessarily even asking for grant funding. Although I don't know, in the past they may have gotten there, I'm pretty sure, right? But it's interesting how they have progressed in terms of how they're earning capital now. And also in the events that they are providing now creating opportunities for the persons in their network to market themselves and hence getting money that way.
Yeah, I don't know if you know Canto, Shemeon. Canto is an NGO, and they also have membership fees. They also have events. They have some of the biggest telecommunications events in the Caribbean. They host AGMs. They have a magazine called the Cancion, and they basically get their customers to buy advertising spot in that Cancion that they release quarterly. So they're not doing barbecues. They kind of figure out that metrics, figure out that how it is to keep afloat in terms of the membership, in terms of the events, in terms of creating opportunities for their clients.
And Rihanna, see her across the hand up.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. So my name is Candice Debisette, and I am the founder of Debisette Consulting and Empowerment Organization. So for me, what I do is provide individual counseling sessions, group counseling sessions. A lot of it is online. And for me, I with confidentiality, right? So there's so much that I could actually put out there. I can't really take a picture when I'm having a session with a client. Right? So like putting their information out there. Many times I have so much people that I meet with online, where I travel a lot. So I'm back and forth in Trinidad and the US. So there's so many people that I meet with online for one-on-one sessions where a lot of them feel like hopeless. There's many times people feel like, they want to harm themselves or at least having suicide ideations. And, that information, I can't really put it to say, well, I spoke with this person and that person. I can't take photos. However, moving forward, I also want to start having like groups for youths at risk with conflict resolution. Many times, with peer pressure, the way that we respond to conflict, it's not safe, with the violence and all of these things. So for me, it's like I'm trying to figure out how I could seek funding because it's a lot. Like it's costing me a lot of money because most of the things that I'm doing so far, like having like the Zoom account and making sure like the internet is always there, having platforms for them to meet with me on, right? And it's cost effective, and it's a lot. So I'm actually now starting to network because I want to have groups where it will be like a specific time, meeting with at least like 15 children at the same time, or, and that's just where it's a lot. I have so much people hitting me up online, and sometimes 11 o'clock in the night, people have friend, they don't have that support system where they could talk to someone, and it's easier to talk to a stranger, right? So you talk to someone and they don't want your business out there. However, it's like you just want to talk to someone and get some advice. You just want someone to listen to you. So that's what I do.
Okay. So in terms of building your social accounts where you say you can't put, person's picture or personal information and stuff, that is fine. Then you would have to be that brand. You would have to be your brand in the sense of maybe you can share based on the field you're working in, you can share tips, you can share strategies, you can share, you say you travel a lot, share some of your travel, share, share that you're going to collaborate with this particular organization, just share different things around your field, best practices, all these type of things, just you sitting and giving a 1-minute video on mental health. That is content that you can share and persons will tap into that based on what it is you're offering, right? So you don't have to put out the confidential information and persons and stuff like that. But you as an expert in the field can share your knowledge and expertise, and that will bring your audience to you. You are definitely in a field that would garner some funding. So I would say it's all about putting together a proposal, because yes, I might be Candice Debbie Set and I help vulnerable communities or vulnerable persons, but how can I take what do I do? How can I take my mission and vision and put it into a project design? So now it would look like, okay, the project could look like maybe for the next 6 months, I want to work with young children between the ages of 15 to 20, well, not young, but ages 15 to 20, and we're going to work on this curriculum in terms of motivations, personal hygiene or self-love. These are the curriculum we're going to work on, and we're going to spread it out over the 6 weeks. And we want to cater to maybe 50 of them. And we also want to teach them a skill, teach them a lifelong skill or something like that to pay with. And that in itself right there is the basis of a program that you can now put a budget to, put your sustainability piece to it, put the timeline to it, put the objectives. Because as you say, we have a lot of crime going on. We have a lot of at-risk youths who can benefit from a program like that. And then you tie that into the impact and the need when it comes to the sustainable developmental goals. Look for which one that suits that particular initiative. And that's your proposal right there.
Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. Our comment as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Candice as well, assuming that your current client base is non-paid, they don't pay you?
Yeah, it's a non-for-profit. So far, everything that I've done, it's kind of like from my savings.
Yeah.
Because I also do, I am a mental health counselor, a rehabilitation counselor. I do conflict resolution. I have degrees in criminal justice also.
Okay.
And I also work with substance abuse population.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of this concept where there's a difference between your user and your customer, and not necessarily your customer is a user. So you have a lot of users or persons who to use your service, but you need to find some customers. And if you just change the lens a bit, and you may have customers. So for example, you providing a psycho component for a program. There are many persons who are doing programs. And if you came to them and said, "Hey, do you have any psycho component of your program?" They'd be like, "No, because I'm not a psychologist, I'm not in psychology, I'm not a criminal degree. I want to help people in the community, but I don't have your background." And you could just be their component and you're working a grant together. That person grant sounds much more wholesome, right? With having this component and you just write into that grant how much money that you need to achieve that work. So you see in groups of guys, right? You are an important component of many grants as well, right?
Okay.
Also, I want to kind of dispel the notion that not-for-profit doesn't mean that you can't make revenue to sustain the business. So you can have a paid component of your program that says this is how you will sustain your business. Because outside of grants, outside of anything else, how are you really, well, you say you're taking from your pocket, but outside of that, how is that, sustainable?
Yeah.
So you can have a program. I mean, if it's for kids, well, yes, the parents will have to pay. But if you have, let's say, similar program to what Shemeon message, and you have that for a specific age group, a working class age group, let's say for women, working class women between the ages of 35 to 55 or so, and you have a particular course that is geared towards them, and they pay into that course to get the development that they need, and you get the funding or the revenue that you need to sustain your administrative costs, sustain your programs, and all these different type of things. And the other thing is too, not-for-profit does not mean that you as the owner do not pay yourself. Because even in writing grants, when you do write a grant and you do the budget, you do include payment for workers, and you of yourself can be paid as a project manager, as an administrator on that particular project,
Oh.
So it's not like, okay, we're getting the grant and we're going to fund the day-to-day operations. You will not get the grant if it is you're going to fund the day-to-day operations. But as a part of this project, these are all the costs associated to this particular project. In so much as you have to purchase a pen for $2, you can put that on the budget and ensure that the budget covers everything that is associated to this cost. So if it is that you have to hire a social media manager, you have to hire an accountant, you have to hire a project manager, this is how you get paid working in an NGO.
Okay.
Excellent. And that is also similar to Kwasi who sent a message to me, which is kind of someone of an NGO and a private enterprise in the same field. Yes, and he offers business consultancy. And yes, I've seen that. I've seen, and they actually say that the for-profit is to support the non-profit portion.
Yes. And that's kind of what we are trying to do with Smarting right now, because we do have for-profits registered in the Caribbean and Canada, and we do see the need for non-profit as well, because we can also have access to funding that way. That will feed into advocacy and getting laptops and tablets and stuff for children who can't afford it, and we would also utilize funds as well from the for-profit that can also feed into our corporate and social responsibilities through the nonprofit as well.
Excellent example there. Because that is exactly coming back to this grant that we looked at earlier, right? They have lots of money, right? They have excellent things that they want to do, but it's limited to not-for-profits, right?
Yeah.
And having that entity, you'll be able to access it. All right, guys, I'm asking too much good questions. Gotta
Thank
move
you
on.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank
gotta
you
move-
so much for this information. I really appreciate it.
Most more than welcome.
Yes.
More than welcome.
I'm seeing
Yeah.
Rianne.
Rianne. Hi, yes. I know you all were speaking about profitable businesses, non-profitable. What about startups? Um, for me, I'll just give you a quick background. My name is Rianne, and I'm the owner of Green Poly Innovations. I recently won a pitch competition in my community of Laverick, and I won $50,000. Yes, but that is what I'm about is plastic and plastic recycling. So yes, I am very grateful for the 50, but I knew I would need to pitch for more because
Yes.
the machinery and stuff like that, it's a lot. But I know my proposal has to be um, on point because it's a startup. It's basically an idea that
Yeah.
with their funding is going to it's going to be created. So they are basically making my vision come to life. So what I really wanted to find out is that if there is more fundings or grants for what I have to do and how easy or difficult it is to get with it just being an idea right now.
I can pass you go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I think I lost my train of thought. No. I was following you. In terms of pitching, yes, you definitely would have to pitch more. There's a lot of different websites that has pitching competitions, accelerator programs. So you'd have to maybe look at an accelerator program as well. I always say Wildlife is a really good program for the networks, for the learning, and all these different type of things as well. And overall, a great experience for entrepreneurs in the Caribbean, right? So you can look into Wildlife, registering for Wildlife. There's Tech Beach. I think Tech Beach have an accelerator as well. There's CDB. I think CDB have some entrepreneur accelerator in the Caribbean as well. There's a couple in the Caribbean that you can access and do some pitching and stuff there. Where it comes to it being an idea, I think there are some opportunities where you still can get the funding even though it's an idea. And then there's um, some other types of opportunities. I don't know if any one of you all has explored these, but there's like the Kickstarter platform. You can definitely sign up and put your information on Kickstarter. And then there's like GoFundMe, the platform. But for GoFundMe, you basically have to run a really high level marketing campaign that will really pull on emotions and stuff and really get your messaging out there for persons, to kind of donate in. But those are some kind of ways that you can, put your information out there and just share it across the different platforms. You can even boost it if it is you wish, and see if you can get persons buying into that. With those type of platforms, the entire world is your oyster in terms of you can get persons from all over different countries, etc., buying into that. But like I said, your marketing strategy behind those GoFundMe platform has to be top tier.
In terms of the world of this is a strategy, is the oyster. Jimmy, is a good part to talk about DMZ and how has DMZ aided your acceleration?
Right. So DMZ has been a very vital part of our scale up and our progression as a company. DMZ is an accelerator program out of Canada, and we would have participated, I think, in one year, maybe in 2019, thereabouts, for maybe I believe it was like maybe a 2 weeks type of program, and then we network and stuff like that, and then we got into one of their programs, which I believe was 2 years. With that program, we got into we now have an office in Canada. We now service clients in Canada, and we're legally registered in Canada. So And through that program, it was like boot camp, boot camp for sales, boot camp for marketing, boot camp for fundraising, boot camp for everything. And, we had to meet via, well, two of my teammates are there physically, and then the rest of us would have come in virtually. So they would have like different boot camps every week, and we'd have to come in, we'd have to give reports and feedback. They basically held us accountable for our own success. And we have really good relationships with them, and through those network building and stuff like that, we have done a lot of pitching in Canada and through the DMZ program, a lot of pitching. I can't even mention how much funds was raised, but I believe by now maybe like around 20 to 25,000 USD raised through pitching at the DMZ and the different programs they would have and pitching competitions they would have. There's also something called Collision. If you are trying to reach on that side and expanding out there, it's like a conference for startups where you have your different booths coming in, different speakers, experts on different topics. So we have been to Collision maybe about 2 to 3 times, and it's good for networking if it is you're trying to open up markets in North America, Central America.
Thanks. Somebody mentioned unit trust or the startup accelerator. Yeah, they're more than you think. They are more than you think, but as you come into this space, you're gonna recognize that they are quite a bit. All right, so on to the next one, which is
Fundraising.
I'm Peter McFerrin, and this is Fundraising Concepts. We're closing in on specific fundraising now. We've talked about a fundraising strategy and plan. We've detailed the components for that plan, as well as those for the marketing and communications plan. Now we'll take a closer look at fundraising opportunities specific to nonprofits. Look over the summary you've written. Additional funding options will depend on the information in your summary. Whether you work in the health, educational, environmental, cultural, energy, or rural development sectors. These opportunities will vary greatly depending on the nature of your nonprofit, its mission and vision, as well as the social and economic context in which you work. Your fundraising plan and SWOT analysis help you identify opportunities that make sense to pursue. Remember, seek out the connections, the things in common with investors or partners. These could include public-private partnerships with local, regional, or national governments that can provide an important source of revenue for your organization. It is important that in such partnerships, the rules of the relationships are clearly spelled out in a memorandum of understanding or letter of intent. You also have to be very careful on how you navigate the political context of your project. If there is a change of government or officials, you don't want your work or funding to be affected. It is also possible to partner with an international NGO or charity. Here again, the political context is also very important. Other funding opportunities can include support from private companies as part of their corporate social responsibility. National or international foundations, bilateral, and in some cases multilateral organizations are also options. Often, private companies have resources allocated to support community development. Most multi- and bilateral organizations will channel their resources through government entities that in turn will sometimes partner with nonprofits to execute projects. Several countries have development agencies that partner with or fund local organizations. Receiving funding support from them will depend on your institutional track record, what sectors you work in, and what your mission and vision is. And don't forget your friends, family, and supporters of your cause. There are several options for crowdsourced funding available on the internet. Research these options to determine what might work best for your project. Support and resources don't always mean money. You may receive financial contributions, bequests, in-kind contributions, volunteer support, or goods and services. Things such as free or discounted office space can help reduce overhead expenses. Remember, I said that investors want to see what their money has accomplished. Investors or partners for nonprofits are interested in the exact same thing. Show them how their investment will make a difference, and you may find it's much easier for them to jump on board with your nonprofit. Our final lesson is about for-profit funding opportunities.
Sense?
Yeah, definitely. Funding for nonprofit organizations. I think we mentioned it earlier. Key to accessing funds for nonprofit is the fact that you present yourself as a trustworthy, credible organization, individual. Because when investors invest in your projects, they want to know that you're not going to siphon the money and do something else with it, your own personal use. They want to know that you are going to create change, you are going to create impact. The persons that you say you're going to impact, that they will benefit the most, and real change is happening. They want to see that. They really want to see that. So I would say in even your communication plan with your funders has to be very, very tight, in the sense of, you see a grant, you're going to apply to this grant, you're filling out the form for this grant, and in that you might have questions. Find an email of the person who's the contact person on that particular grant. Send them an email. Let them know that, okay, you're submitting and you had a question. You may not even have a question, but you just want to let them know that you're generally interested in this particular grant. So contact them even before you submit the grant. Once you submit the grant, contact them again, because they would have probably respond to your email. Contact them again, let them know that you submitted, you're really excited, and you know that your project is impactful, and this is the reason why it's impactful. And you just really maintain, little conversations there. If it is they're taking too long to let you all know who access the grant, you can send them an email again, let them know that you submit on so and so date, and you're just following up to see, if they're ready to make announcements. They might reply and say, yes, we have a little challenge, and announcements will come out in the next 2 weeks or so. You thank them. Once the announcement is out, if you are selected, they will send you an email stating that, yes, your project was selected, right? You just respond and say, thank you so much. It's going to change so many lives. It's going to be an impactful project. And, just let them know that you won't let them down, so to speak. If you did not get selected, also communicate with them and let them know, thank you so much for the opportunity. You're going to look out for the submission for next year or for next time around. And, just, maintain that rapport and keep in contact with them, because you never know. You may not get this grant, but they might see the work that you do, and they might call you for a interview, or they might call you for to run a program or something. So you always want to maintain that cordial, that rapport, that friendliness in the emails when it is you're having communication with the founders.
Thanks, Jayme. Gonna go on to the next one since it might be similar.
Yeah.
If If you're joining me, then you know I am Peter McFerrin, and this is Fundraising Concepts. I trust that you've made it through each of the lessons in this course: fundraising strategy and plan, marketing and communications plan, and funding opportunities for nonprofits. Our final stop is funding opportunities in the for-profit sector. There are a wide range of funding opportunities for profit-making institutions, depending on their financial and legal structure and line of business. These can involve equity investments by individuals, angel investors, multilateral organizations, as well as business incubators. Most financing institutions will want to see that you have made your own financial investments in your project. They'll want to see a solid business plan and a manageable debt-to-equity ratio. That means your cash flow must show that you are able to cover your debt, pay for capital and operational expenses, and have funds left over to provide a return to an investor. Take a close look at your debt-to-equity ratios, your cash flow, the interest you will pay on a loan, and the expected returns. Make sure debt is manageable. Consult with professionals like lawyers and accountants if you can. Be sure that the reality of your company is in line with the expectations of an investor. In some cases, an investor will require guarantees. Make sure they are realistic and will not suffocate your company. You must also evaluate and manage the monetary and political risk associated with your company or project. For example, if there is a devaluation and your loan is pegged to a foreign currency, will this limit your capacity to pay off your loan? Be smart about managing your risk. Joint ventures are another useful vehicle for bringing in capital to your organization. Investments through incubators or microcredit organizations are other options, depending on your financing requirements, size, and sector. The advantage of a joint venture is that it can bring in financing, technical, and managerial skills to your organizations and provide the groundwork for an eventual partnership. Raising resources involves hard work by a committed, multidisciplinary team. It requires looking for opportunities, creativity, patience and persistence, managing risks, and knowing when a chosen path is viable and when changes need to be made. Fundraising is not a science, but a process. Stand ready to adjust that process as the reality of the project changes and new opportunities open up. Your plan should be innovative in nature and flexible in design to accommodate fresh approaches or methodologies. At the same time, recognize the limitations of the plan. The experience and the passion you feel for your work will help you overcome many obstacles, so your efforts will bear fruit. Regardless of what type of company or organization you create, knowing how fundraising, grant distribution, and philanthropy have changed in recent years positions you to move forward with confidence. Keeping abreast of the latest trends in fundraising places you on the forefront of opportunity. Investing in your team members through professional development widens your net for success. Remember, investors want to know how their resources are invested and how they will make a difference. You must demonstrate that your idea is viable, innovative, and sustainable. If you reach a wall, find a way to climb over it or go around it. As more people believe in and support what you do, the greater your impact and success will be. Step by fundraising step, you can make your dream come true and make a positive impact on your community. Thanks for joining me.
I think one of the key things he mentioned for me is that you have to invest in your organization as well. So for example, at SmartTerm, for the first maybe 4 years, we bootstrap our entire organization. And that basically means based on, co-founders, putting up money and being able to pay workers, it all came from within. We had no investments, probably friends and family, but no investments in terms of grants, in terms of venture capital, in terms of angel investor. Up till now, we don't have venture capital or angel investor, but we do get grants from time to time, and the organization is steady now, where it is, funding itself in terms of the revenues are coming in to ensure that operations happen. So I think that is important, for investors to see that you did spend some of your own funds, or however you raise the funds in terms of friends, family, crowdfunding, or personal funding. It is important for them to see that you believe in yourself and you, have the ability, or you were able to invest in your own idea and keep it going, right? I think another thing would have been having your market research, having done some market research, right? Because again, they would want to know how viable this product is. If I invest in this product, how much of it you're going to produce, who you're going to target, how fast you can bring a return on their investment for them. Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? How fast you can bring a return on investment for them will determine how fast they give you the investment. But I think it's important to do that market research to ensure that the market is a viable market. The products and services that you're selling, there is a market to really support it, to really buy into it, and so that you can get the revenues and the profits that you so desire. Also, again, having, so this for profits itself, it's a lot more work than in nonprofit in terms of having certain key documents in order to ensure that the investor is comfortable to invest in the organization. Also, we talk about projection as well, being able to project your next 5 years to show how how it is you're going to make profits is important to show the investor. So I think a lot of what he mentioned, maybe some of you all are experiencing already. Something we had to set up was a data room. And a data room for us is what we have. We have, like, let's say, for example, your Google Drive. You have a folder in your Google Drive, and in that folder entails every piece of document an investor would need to see in order to make a decision about funding, about investing in your business. So things from your registration, your organizational structure, your business deck, your corporate overview, just a lot of, they might have specific things that they would ask for too, but this data room, you all can probably Google it and see exactly what is needed or required for a data room. But it's something when you pitch to an investor, they would automatically say, send me a data room, so that all your information is compiled there, and they can see everything that they need to see in order to make a sound decision about investing into your company.
Good stuff, good stuff. Any questions?
Questions?
But if I don't question, I have questions for earlier, right? The quiz coming up. Right.
So in terms of a for-profit company, I did a grant for them maybe last year, with shaping the future of innovation That's with IDB and Kariri. And that company won 75,000 US dollars to take their business to the next level. They were operating, they had some funds coming in, they had their books and everything together. So they just basically had to show the need for the 75,000. And also on that, some funders will ask you to maybe put up a 50% or put up a 10%. I think in this case, they had to put up a 10%, to show that they also add into the 75 as well.
See a question from Aaron George.
Aaron.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, morning.
So what happens in the case of a software company? Because I know, I would say traditional investors, you would go to them, let's say you're doing a real estate project, it would mean that you have a lot of information regarding, your hardware requirements, the actual capital that is needed. But with a software situation, essentially, let's say you have an app to develop. Now, if it is you give a potential investor, let's say in the tech space, who has certain connections already and certain history in the tech space, an idea that is, let's say, good enough, what stops them from just taking the idea and doing it themselves? Like, how do you separate the information that you're giving into such a category that would protect your idea as well?
And this question is something that always comes up, your intellectual property, that sort of thing. Because you can share your idea with an investor, and because they have the money to execute it, they just take the idea and execute it. In the real world, we can just say, well, wherever, how you can prevent something like that is maybe some companies may want to pursue lawsuits, I guess, if it is, they would have pitched an investor and they see that same investor with the same idea, probably with just a different name. Some companies may pursue lawsuit, but if you have the funding and the time to even pursue a lawsuit, then maybe you have the funding to invest in a business, right? And then you just may have to, you may have to just sit with the fact that there's a possibility that that could happen. What we would have done in Smartum, or how we look at that particular question, is that the amount of time, the amount of energy, the amount of the experts on our team, for somebody to take our idea and execute it the way we would execute it, they will never get it the way we would execute it, and they will never get have all the services and everything that we would have and how we would execute it. So yes, somebody could take an idea. Its ideas are always open there for anybody to execute on, right? Somebody could take your idea, but you have ideas that are on paper, and then you have ideas that are still in your brain to actually be materialized on paper and actually to come out, or maybe different advancements or level ups of the same product, right? So that's what we never had that encounter with something like that, but we always say the experts that we have on with the team, the energy and the effort and the amount of work that is already in the product, it will be very hard for somebody to duplicate what we already have.
All right,
Very
so
good,
let
very
me
good.
follow up on that. Thanks so much. Well, I'll follow up on that. So the data room will not include those pieces of information that he's speaking about. So that's kind of what I was asking, like, how do we separate what goes into the data room? Because if an investor could just say, okay, send me a data room,
Yeah.
and that data room has sufficient information that would kind of bridge the gap between the expertise that the company currently has and what they may be able to acquire. Again, assuming that the idea is good enough that this
Yeah.
person sees, wow, this has so much potential. Why would I invest in someone else's when I could have it all
When I
myself?
can just do it for myself
They
and
would be willing to put significant effort into basically getting everything
yeah.
that you have in your data room. What type of information should we keep in-house as opposed to putting it into that data room? I'm just trying to kind of fine-tune the data
Yeah.
room concept.
What also protects you as well too, sometimes investors They don't want to go through the hassle of creating a team, motivating the team, and just building out that whole culture. They rather just put their investment and know that within 2 to 3 years they get a return on their investment. So there's investments like that. And then there's some data room. It's like an online app where you put your information and it has the timestamp and login of those individuals coming into the room. So it's something that could be monitored in the sense of you know exactly who's accessing the data room, and data room itself is taking records of who's accessing it, which documents they access and open and stuff like that. So that sort of thing kind of protects you in the sense of if they want to take your idea and run with it, you can say, well, at this time, this date and time, this investor was in the data room and they would have seen, etc. And if you want to pursue a lawsuit against that investor, then would have been your proof to say, well, they got the idea. But in terms of your data room, I would say things like your corporate overview, things like your organizational structure, things like your business, your pitch deck, which is very important, your business deck or your pitch deck. Um, just like your traction, where have you operated so far, your markets, that sort of thing. Who is currently collaborating with you? Who are you currently working with? You know, those type of things that will lend credibility to the investor actually investing in you. I don't think there's a level of measure that you would apply, yes, to protect yourself, but at the same time, if you really want to sell your idea or to get persons knowing about your solutions, you have to just talk about it in the hopes that maybe they don't take it, or they want to invest in your business.
And just for clarity, your programming for Smart Term is not in your data room.
If
The programming for Smart Term also being a tech company. Is
yeah,
that in your data room?
no, that won't be there. No. So it's basically the bare things that they can read and understand and say, well, yes, I want to invest in here, but like your codes and all these different type of things won't be in your data room.
Aaron, that answers the question.
All right, awesome. So just one more thing. Sorry for
Yeah.
taking so much time. Essentially, what happens when you are, I would say, a startup developer? So you don't have a lot of pre-existing history that could even, I would say, populate the data room in that type of way. So essentially, you
Mhm.
have the idea. You basically have the outline of what is necessary for the app to be deployed and taken to market and so on.
Yeah.
So just for example, let's say you have to get an API, and the API that you would need fundamental to the software that you're gonna develop costs
Mhm.
150,000 US dollars, right? Um, from a beginner coder, obviously you have some experience and you are able to code and develop whatever the app may be.
Right.
But from an investor's outlook, you are a person that doesn't have any track record. How do you again bridge the gap in terms of one, the data room as well as outside of the data room? What would then bridge the gap between your reliability and notoriety to
Yeah.
an investor?
What I've realized to a data room is something that you can't build over the weekend. I think it's something that is like a consistent thing, as you go along in your business. You'd have to put information, you'd have to constantly update information as well. So it's not something that, okay, I will take a weekend all-nighter and build out a data room. It's something that gradually and consistently upload. I would say um, for startups, maybe in the initial stages, you don't focus on the data room because, yes, you may not have all the documents that investors are requiring to support the data room. So I would say stick to more like accelerator programs, pitching programs that you can pitch and get funding to kind of feedback into the business and develop the business in that way until you build a certain level of traction and stuff like that with your let's say customers or the markets and stuff like that. So I would say, yeah, stick to like more accelerator pitching competitions while you consistently build that data room. So I'm sending a link here about data room so you could have more information on it.
All right, and one more thing. Very quick.
Wait. I'm just going on this line of tech talk too much, guys. You have 93 other persons, so I can have another date some other time. Right? So unless it's a tech a question, that could be pretty
No,
good.
it's general. It is
Okay.
but
Let's
general
go.
investor.
We answering all questions today.
What happened? Could you comment on the landscape of tech investments in Trinidad and Tobago? That's just like how the climate is and stuff like that in your experience with persons having what level of maturity are we at in terms of that type of investment? And just comment on like the landscape and how things are going in the space outside of NDC, of course.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I could speak from my own particular experience. So our software is in education technology, right? We provide a platform to help teachers, students, governments, principals, parents to operate seamlessly online. So basically helping principals to manage the schools as well as providing data for governments to make informed decisions about education, right? And we have approached the Ministry of Education here on numerous occasions. We have had conversations, and I must say that it's very slow. It's very slow. I think, part of the reason is that they want to build an in-house platform maybe from the ministry, and they would have done some of that during COVID, and well, we see what went on with that. So they want to do things in-house, but when it comes to the governments in general, governments are are ministries. They are ministry makeup of different persons that there to assist in running the ministry, not really particularly to assist in running a tech organization. So I think that is where the breakdown is happening, rather than building it in-house rather than seeking a tech firm to bring it in, So we have gotten a lot of pushback there. In terms of investments in the tech scene, I am seeing the Ministry of Digitization doing some stuff with the Ehub. So I think the Ehub is a platform for developers to help them to develop their skills and these different type of things. But generally, when it comes to investing in tech, I don't think Trinidad and Tobago has a great appetite for it. Jamaica has a better appetite for it, I would say. And that's just based on, even the ministry over there being more receptive. You have things like Tech Beach, which is it's regional, but it's heavily Jamaican based, that type of thing. And you'd have more investments coming from Jamaica. We would see that. You have like CDB, who invest in tech companies as well, who invest in entrepreneurs, I would say. So CDB is open to investing as well. And there are some other regional players that are investing in tech. So I would say Trinidad, you might get one or two, governments or agencies investing. But if you really want to experience that real investment, business development growth, you may get more success regionally. IDB is a source of investment as well. IDB is regional, but they have an office in Trinidad, so you can also check IDB. because yes, they had the Shaping the Future of Innovation grant. So IDB is definitely one that supports tech organizations. Yeah, but generally Trinidad on the whole, it's kind of slow, but regionally you will get something.
Good stuff. Simone, I see your hand.
Hi, good day, everyone. Hi, Shem. Hi,
Good
Jayme.
evening.
Hi, Simone.
Hi. Yes, I must congratulate Jayme on the great work she's doing. And I can attest, I've been part of her NGO in one of the programs and also supporting them in what they're doing. And they're doing a fantastic job with women all over.
Simone is
Yes,
actually our entrepreneurial coach. So I think it's on the 26th. Simone will be teaching entrepreneurship.
Yes, 23rd of November. Yes, I'm really excited and looking forward to that, and also your graduation as well.
Awesome.
So, yes. I know Shaba's mentioned me a few times associated with NEDCO. So I am an independent coach and I do work for NEDCO. And I would like to say that NEDCO is giving out grants. They're making it really easy, to be honest. They really want to give out this money. They need to. The earlier you're getting, obviously, the better, because there's a lot of persons, but there's only so much money. So when that money is finished, it's finished. So I would advise persons to apply as early as possible. If anyone needs any little tips and support, I'm happy to do that. It's up to $20,000. Be a business registered, just the ID and a bill. So it's basic, stuff that you provide. If you have a business plan, when you're filling out the application, you state that you have a business plan. So that way you go to the fast track process, which is faster. If you don't have a business plan or don't have any, education around business planning, then you would say that you don't have one. You do go through some training, which is a 30-hour. I'm one of the facilitators for that as well, to help you plan your business plan so that at least you have a draft when you go into the coaching elements of it, which is a shorter space of time. It's very beneficial that you go through this process in order to be able to have your plan, because you cannot get a grant without a business plan. That is definitely the criteria. There's no way you can get it without completing that. But they have a basic template, so it makes it really easy, to be honest. And you have persons working through, like myself, working through everything with you and ensuring that you meet the criteria, because we in turn obviously assess the plan and put forth the recommendation for NEDCO with regards to you getting the grant. I would advise persons, especially between the 18 and 35, persons older are getting as well, but there's more available to persons within that bracket. So, now is the time. It's a grant, guys. I would really advise you to push, as soon as possible and try to get on that. I do, obviously coaching and stuff independently otherwise. So that's another, story, right? So.
So you want somebody asking for your number, so you can just send it in the
yes, I'm gonna pop it in the chat.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Or her asking you what stuff.
Yeah, at the NEDCO grant, I think it was a very simple grant. I would have coached maybe about 4 to 5 persons, and they are going through the process. They have already gotten called back to maybe submit 1 or 2 pieces of documents like the BIR or the registration. So they are going through the process, and these grants are grants that once you have all your information, you have your documents and stuff, is grants that they are going to issue, So it's not like a competition in a sense that you have to pitch or anything for it.
Now,
But
one of the... Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, no, there's something else. You can go ahead.
No, that was it.
Okay. One other thing I recall from one of these sessions was just as great, but not necessarily exciting as getting money, but just as great is saving money, right? Or getting reimbursements on money. So the government has incentives, tax incentives, and incentives and tax incentives. So some of the one of the incentives they have the tourism accommodation and upgrade project. So if you have like a guest house and you want to bolster or renovate this guest house, they would pay up to 50% of the renovation, right? And that is available from Tourism Trinidad's website. Keep that in mind.
Also locally, you can look at embassies, not only the US embassy, but you can also look at, I think the Chinese embassy, Japanese embassy have grants available. The UK High Commission also have project grants available. So you can also look there for grants. There's this website called UNOODLE for acceleration program. There's also youth, I think it's youth opportunity desk or opportunity desk, one of those. Opportunity desk is a resource I've been using for however long, and they have grants, competitions, jobs, certifications, as well as conferences. So they have the full works, as the guy here said. Funding does not only mean monetary, but it could mean maybe, um, uh, let's say, looking for a certification, or you're looking for a training, to get a skill that will add some value or improvement to pieces of your business. So all of these different type of things will show. So even when you are compiling for investors and stuff, you want to show the things that you would have done. You want to show your accomplishment, really highlight those areas, because those are the things they will use to determine how successful or credible you are as a business or as an individual, to say, yes, I feel comfortable in lending funds to this organization.
Good stuff. All right, guys, quiz time. Quiz time. Fundraising concepts. All right, just a couple questions. All right. Yes, we have taken a lesson related to this. Yes. All right, let's see. When starting a business, new entrepreneurs are more likely to receive initial funding from which one of the following sources? Pop your answer in the chat, guys. Is it from donors, corporations, foundations, or family and friends?
Family.
Yeah, but everyone's saying D. Rosalia saying D, Cindy Lucy, D, Tony says D. Okay, Elizabeth says D, Chazelle D, Candace D.
Very good.
All right, okay, you good. The strategic fundraising plan should include A, a summary, executive summary, organizational structure, your certificate of achievement, and a SWOT analysis. Or an executive summary, organizational structure, strategic objectives on the timeline, and budget, and a marketing and communications plan. Or a SWOT analysis, strategic objectives on the timeline, a budget, and a marketing and communications plan. A, B, or C?
C.
B. Samara says B. Chazelle says B. Tony Ray says B. Elizabeth says B.
Yes, B.
B. Pixie says B.
All I was listening, man.
Yeah, well then. All right. B. Adele says B. Somebody say the answers loud. Stop it. B. Rosalia says, okay, so she's taking, oh, Rosalia says she's taking notes. All right. B for business. I like that, Risha. All right. Having a manageable debt to equity ratio means your cash flow must show that you're able to cover your debt, pay for capital and operational expenses, and have funds left over to provide a return to an investor. This requirement is common for which type of investor? Non-profit funders, charitable organization, for-profit funders, or chambers of commerce. And this question is a good reminder that Republic Bank does have some loans available, as I said in the last session, but we only have a certain amount, so you have to check them. I think it's up to 100,000 or around 100,000 or more, right? And it's like, what's what, 7 or 8 or 9% return interest rate. Yeah. Okay, secure. Okay, let's see. C, why? Everybody's saying C. Nadine saying C. Wendy Primus, C. Cindy Lou Valentine. Oh, always familiar face. C, yes. Risha, yes, there's a WhatsApp group. And Vasha will send that. Let's send it. C, you're right. So C, okay. For-profit funders, right? Public bodies and charitable organizations are obligated to earn a return on an investment. and enhance their reputation and brand. True or false? A or B? True or false? Public bodies, charitable organizations must make a return on investment and enhance their reputation and brand. B, false. A, Jian said A, that's true. Samara said B, false. A, Elizabeth, true. Shazza saying false. It's split, guys. Which one will it be? Which one will it be? True, that's a true. Public bodies, return on investment. Okay, Nadine, A, let's remember, guys, what we put here is a reflection on you guys, not me. A. Counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Choose a 1, 2, 3. I see more. Oh. All right, need a tiebreaker. True or false? I'm waiting for one more answer. All right, public bodies need to make a return on investment. Okay, I'll see you back at that question. All right. Mary wants to develop a program to provide free healthcare screenings for women and girls in her community. She will need to buy the equipment, provide transportation for herself and her team, and pay the doctors and nurses who will perform the work. Mary needs to find funding for this project. Mary should target what type of funder and why. Should she contact for-profit funding because she has a good or service to sell? Non-profit funding because she's performing a community service that will benefit those in her community? Or both for-profit and non-profit funders? Which one is it? Oh, I seen C. Shazal says C. Jian says C. Sinyan says C. Navarra says both for C. Okay. Okay. Look at C. C's have it. Mary has developed a strategic plan to raise the funding she needs for a healthcare screening project. She has created a list of possible funders for a project. Which of these funders is least likely to fund Mary's project? The national government, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Pan-African Farmers Association, the Clinton Foundation, Clinton Health Access Initiative, none of the above or all of the above? A, B, or C?
C.
Somebody said not the answer, man. You gotta go. Oh, that's fine. You can say it, y'all can say it. C. Wow. Okay. C. Okay, I see you.
Have it.
Okay. Farmers is the seller. A good source of information developing a fundraising strategy is to look at what organizations have funded in the past and what techniques successful fundraisers are using. True or false? True from the bar? True? Okay. A list of your capital and operating expenses, fixed and variable costs, assets and liabilities should be included in what part of your fundraising plan? Marketing and communications, executive summary, organizational structure, strategic objectives, budgets, all of the above or none of the above? Budget. Chazelle says budget. All right. Elizabeth says strategic objectives. Okay. Budget. All right. Okay, fly. Marketing includes creating your branding and corporate identity, a clear and concise website, an active and relevant social media presence, and well-designed informative marketing materials. How you intend to market your service is a key component of which document. Is it the executive summary, the fundraising plan, tax filings, organizational structure, all of the above, and none of the above?
Let me see.
All of the above, A, D, A. Should be marketing and communications plan. I like that, Shazam. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All of the above.
Branding and corporate identity.
Fundraising plan. You guys seem conflicted.
Is it
All of the
none?
above.
None of the above? Executive summary, fundraising plan.
All right, I'm gonna read out all right. Fundraising plan, we'll see.
How many more questions?
Nah, 12, that's it. That's two more. John has an idea for a new project, but he believes will make a lot of money, but he will need startup capital. Unfortunately, he cannot finance the development of the product himself, and his family and friends don't have money to lend. But with me,
And consultation.
so like a typical Trini. John has developed his fundraising plan in consultation with colleagues and friends who are knowledgeable in accounting, the law, marketing, fundraising, and production and distribution. Which of these fundraising options should John peruse? Crowdsourcing, joint ventures, bank loan, angel investors, microcredit lenders, incubators, none of the above or all of the above.
All of the above.
Have you seen a D angel investors? Samara is in disagreement. All. And the next all.
Yeah, I would say all.
Somebody saying all, okay. All. All right. Okay. John has created an expert team of individuals to help him develop his idea and create a strategic fundraising plan. Now that the plan is complete, John doesn't need his team to help him find potential investors. True or false? Never. First indicator of false. Okay. False. All right. I hear you guys. Yeah, false. Keeping investors. Oh, okay. You're good, Lisa. Kevin, false. Okay, good. Keeping investors and donors informed on the financial and operational aspects of your work by providing regular reports and complying with the requirements donors or investors helps build personality, favoritism, trust, doubt, apathy, all of the above, none of the above. You know, I've seen trust. Josanne says trust. All right. Thanks, John. Trust. All right, let's see. Let's see how we go. Bam. 2 answers wrong. 2 answers wrong, and you have only 4 attempts.
But y'all did great.
Yep. Yep. So let's go see what you have to correct. Public and charitable organizations need to earn a return on investments. So that is false. All right.
Yeah, that was false. How we put through there? That was false.
Yes. Charitable organizations don't need to make no money, but
They
they
don't
don't need a return on investment. That is what I
Yes,
say.
they can make revenues, but not a return on the investment.
Right. Good. And then this one here. Interesting. So which one is it, guys? This is one of Mary. Needing free healthcare screenings. It is not both for profit and non-profit. Then it should be Nicole says so B. Non-profit. Josanne says B.
Let me see.
B. Alright. Okay. Marie, yes, B. Let's see.
Congratulations.
Congrats, guys. Very well done. Very well done. Good job. Good job.
So this site is access for everybody to go back and look at the videos and also take the quiz and get your certificate.
That's right. Certificate, so you pull in that information and get a nice pretty certificate. Right. Of course, so the site again has a lots of stuff here and on our website. We have it on Facebook Live as well. But then we have this particular recordings will be available here as well. And all the recordings that we have done, like this one, you can come in here and check it out. All right. So cool, guys. Any last minute words, Jayme? Yeah.
For me.
No, well, actually, anybody. Any questions?
Any last minute questions or comments? Let's take that now and we will wrap up. But it was a pleasure being here. I absolutely had fun. I love sharing my experience. I love getting that feedback from, persons who are, developing their businesses, who are having great ideas and want to put themselves out there. It's always a joy to be around you guys. In Trinidad, 30% of businesses contributing to the economy are small businesses. So you all can give yourself a little clap there. That's almost 200,000 persons contributing towards our economy through small business. So you all are definitely needed. The ideas, the solutions, that you all are putting forward are amazing, and you all are needed. We all are needed, to fill some type of gap, to be a solution for a challenge.
Definitely. I see some questions here. To the hub. Oh, okay, where can you get the quiz? You'll send you the link in the invitation, I guess. But is this Wildlife online courses? The topic we did was fundraising concepts. Right, so if you just hit that there, fundraising concepts, and I'll just drop the link in the chat again. And you just go straight down to the end with the quiz. All right. In terms of, can we do taxation next, please? All right. So yeah, camera there. Yes, that is so important, as you see. One of the criteria for our success really is that finances are the beginning again, right? And I have some friends who are in that arena, and we definitely have to make it clear. So one, I think she's the founder of an NGO called We Thrive, right? So yes, and I spoke with her, and it's a host a session regarding what is required, and you had to start from cross, right? This cross system.
You have to sign up for the online system.
Yeah. So what are those 1, 2, 3 steps in order for us all to get our finances in order?
Right.
And if it is that we have to come up with something to make it easy, what are the easiest solutions out there? Let's spell it out so that we knock that criteria out the park. Mira and then Nicole.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I just have my
Morning.
baby just waking up on us as I'm about to
Oh,
speak. Sorry about that.
that's
I just
fine.
would like to say a thank you. This morning session it was awesomely appreciated. I learned. I'm the type of person I love to learn. So I definitely did learn, and I just would like to express my gratitude. Thank you.
Oh, thank you
And
so much for being here.
And if I can have a suggestion, as you guys mentioned, the crooks, or I don't know, however you say it, the government thing that you have to apply on online. Recently, I attempted to register a new business idea that I have because I became jobless last year. Um, so the experience, it's a bit difficult, it's a bit challenging. I don't know if it's like that for all. So if we can have some exposure to that in that arena, I would appreciate that.
Definitely. I think we need
Right?
to, and there's a
Okay.
struggle we all need to recognize and bring to the attention because I registered a business last month and it takes a while. It takes a number
Yeah.
of steps, a number of tries. But they're not easy. They're not easy. But I think as a hub, let's say if all of us come and say, hey, this is really bad,
This is what we want, yeah.
right? And unacceptable in terms of service. And this is what we think is best practice. Then
Mm-hmm.
we could apply some much needed pressure to improve that system. But yeah,
I think like, they tried to set this up during COVID and stuff like that, but there wasn't like information on how to. It was just like go to the site, this is the new system. And we just had to figure it out.
I think a lot of times with these systems, it kind of targeted a lot of changes and a lot of suggestions or comments made by government is a lot of it targets slightly bigger businesses, right? In terms of they need to ensure that they are taxing businesses appropriately, and this
Yeah.
is big lawyers or these businesses that are successful. They need to make sure they're taxing them properly for the government to run. These services are being implemented, but we feel the pain.
Yes. Another thing that I would like to add in before we leave, because I did apply for grants. NEDCO reached back out to me. It's a waiting process for the persons who
Yeah.
would have applied. It is a waiting process because they did responded to me. So I am at the stage where they asked me to have the business registered. So I mean, as for me, I need to have the business registered like promptly so that I can fit in to assess be able to access the grant. And now having the business registered is just so tedious. Like if I want some information on, because someone told me I can go to Port of Spain and have the business registered in one day. Now I do not know how reliable that source of information is. I don't know. If anyone knows for sure here, you all can let me know. But I cannot get on to any of the numbers that they have on the website. So now I have to wait until I go into San Fernando, like before this week is finished. And I said, well, I will have to go into the office to get the information because I cannot get anyone on the phone to even ask them that.
Yeah.
Yes, these are the pain points, Mira. We see them, we feel them, we know them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember when I wanted to get a business registered, and then they said you can do it online. I went into BIR and they were like, no, or company registries and said, no, that you can't do that, that's impossible. But then I went to do something else, another division, the person said, yes, you need to have accounting. No, the person said no. And I went to the BIR to do something else, and I saw a sign saying, this is where you can put money on your online account. And I did that.
Yeah.
And to register online. So you're right. The process of how to actually there's a way. There's a way, right? but the process of how to actually do it is kind of murky, right?
Yeah.
You need to clarify.
I have a business registration friend, so I can pass the contact to you, Shemeon.
Nice, nice. Nicole.
Hi, good day. So I'm a business consultant. So I register companies and teach them to do the right things from the beginning. What I realized, there's a lot of problem right now. You know, a lot of people more focus on their sales and generating profit and money, and they're not focused on proper filing, proper record keeping, paying their taxes. I have clients that I lost because I telling them, okay, how to record your sales, properly record your receipts, this and that. And they'll tell me they don't want to do business with me because I telling them how to spend the money and do it. No. And this is what I trying with businesses. Everybody more focused on profits and gain and income, but they don't want to do the right things. And then when they end up in a problem, when they have to get VAT and tax clearance, then they'll run too. But this is the problem that I am existing, because you know, we have the amnesty and a lot of people not running towards to fulfill the amnesty. They focus on Christmas coming, I need to make profits, this and that. So this is a big problem that I see existing.
Right.
Nicole, let's chat, right? Because that problem that you're attempting to address, the same problem we have once to address, and it's the same problem that all the entrepreneurs have. But there's also, and from the entrepreneur's point of view, right? We all can say you all disagree, right? But whenever we check in, is when you look into the business, right? It is us, you know, and I don't have time, right? I stood up in a governance seminar in Hyatt, and I said this, what good governance you're talking about? I don't have time to do all this work, right? The only time I have is to make money. I go there and work, right? I go work and feed, and after that I don't mind the family. What tax? It's just I don't have the capacity, right? What helped me as a growing business is when I got myself a administrator, right, and helps me file, right, and because I mean my first couple businesses didn't do so well in that department, and I burnt, right, as in I couldn't go for tenders anymore because I wasn't up to date and all that. Right? And then during COVID, I had to sit down and for a month and just do taxes, just to catch up in an amnesty. Right? But now I know better. So I have a bookkeeper and I have an accountant and I have all those things in a game. So, but yeah, we are balancing a couple of things, which is in reality, persons must put food on the table and they must earn a profit. And from the profit, could we afford to pay for these additional services? I do believe that persons need a little help to get that done, or the process of getting it done must be super easy, right?
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, all of us need those financials and everything in order. We can't
Because
get
I remember doing a grant for a company, and the founders, they ask for like your projection, your cash flow. They ask for your 3 years cash flow that dated back. And if you don't have the 3 years cash flow, then they're asking for projections. So it is important to record your incomes and your expenditures.
Nicole, you had something again to say.
Yeah, and even though I try with them, like I know a lot of them don't have the money to pay, but I sit down with them, you know, what is your budget? It had people who didn't have money and they needed to get grants and certain things, and I sit down with them and I do it without even charging them, because I know how hard it is for me. I run my own business. It's even hard to even get a proper assistant, a good assistant. So it is hard on me. I do everything, but still I work with all these 20 plus clients. And still people get the help and they still don't want it. They get the guidance and they still don't want it. It's more profit, fill up my bank, you know? Yeah, so it's a growing concern. It's a growing concern.
I think that would be a really good topic to address.
Definitely. It is on our agenda. Thanks, Nicole. And we will chat because we need that solution, right? For 1,000 entrepreneurs that we have here. Dana.
And if Dana could be the last.
Hi, good day. I just want to say thank you very much for this session. The thing is that I would like to ask, because coming out of community development, right? What happened? They're asking for unincorporated like NPOs to register, right? I was wondering if you can run a session for unincorporated NPOs.
Okay, I would say when we typically go out into the community, right, and I say, is anyone you say NPOs?
Yeah,
When
because what happening under community development, like for village councils or community groups like the women's group, in order to get funding, they want you to register as unincorporated. Now, most businesses, when you go to register to get the to ask them to do the runarounds, because cross and everything is a cross. To go to legal affairs, it doesn't have one day you sit down. Sometimes you literally want to pull out the hair off your head. If we can, come up with a way to assist those councils, and I'm speaking on behalf of the village councils as an assistant secretary as well. The thing is, we need to get each council registered, but we cannot get them registered as incorporated. They have to be unincorporated.
Okay.
Do you know about that?
I wonder it was very much aligned with what we're trying to do in terms of one, getting all the businesses.
For non-profit, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like you're asking the same thing, which is getting all of our people,
Register.
right?
Yeah.
That then yeah, we have the same challenge in terms of same challenge to address, right? But
Yeah.
we can do it together. And what
All
we
right.
and as because only together we can kind of, because I see that you have to make the process easier, right?
Yes, and that's it, because I have registered NPOs or NGOs. I have worked with, different NPOs and NGOs. But for some reason, and these were incorporated, for some reason, as soon as most persons like that are registering companies as their business, once they hear incorporated, they start to, pull away from that. They don't want to do unincorporated. They only want to do incorporated. So I don't know, why, as well as how can we, assist groups, because a lot of persons are faced with that.
Understand. I didn't drop in your contact now on the chat and we will chat. All right, so guys, you're officially over after we release Jayme. All right.
Yay! Nah, it was a joy being here today, Shem. You all are doing some good work here, demystifying some of the topics, making it simpler, giving the strategies and the tips for persons to really tap into the resources that is out there so that they can develop their business. I really love it.
Thank you, Jayme. You have been an excellent advisor on our series. Thanks for sharing experience. You held nothing back. All right. Excellent, excellent. Thank you for having us here, or have been with us, and continue to do the great work. We will be watching you, all right, and harassing you. Good to know that you do work with grants, because we can ask you to help us do create a grant.
Awesome, awesome. I'm always available. And I'll share my link again here for persons who want to reach out individually on their own time as well.
Thank you, Jayme.
That's my yeah.
Okay, nice. Very nice. All right, guys.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.